Hello, everyone. My name is jennyb, and I'm an astrologer and an energy healer, and I teach how to come into the fullness of consciousness to increase awareness and help others to reach the aspect of them that is pure, unconditional love and light, to recognize that there is no separation and that the Creator lives within us, and to just recognize that the power of the light of the Christ consciousness that lives within every single human being is the second coming. That when we become conscious of that and we begin to practice that every day through loving and accepting ourselves and everyone around us, recognizing the light within everyone rather than the shadow, that's how we know that we've made it. Nothing outside of us is ever judging us or asking us to live up to a certain standard of behavior in order to be accepted or to be in that place of the fullness of love and joy. It's simply a choice that we make every single day. And since I was a baby, I have been in contact consciously and then at other times unconsciously with the Creator's manifestation of the Holy Spirit, who I saw as a very young child and was sort of separating that energy that it looks like an angel from that larger umbrella energy of the Holy Spirit. He is everyone's main guide, Archangel Metatron, as all of the rays. He is the rainbow bridge, and all of the rays or all of the angels come to us through his vibration. So I do channeling work with him, and I try to stay. I've decided lately that I will be staying out of the fray and the illusion or addressing other people's what they've said on videos. It's really nothing to do with us and just a distraction. And as I said in the last video, we have the South Node in Sagittarius, so there will be a lot of teachers who fall into false light or could fall prey to just beliefs that are like of the lower self and getting confused with the highest truth, as Sagittarius represents truth. When the South Node goes through, then we can be coming back to foundational truths that we've held in other experiences that we've already gained and perfected and mastered. But we can also be those who aren't on a solid foundation of truth, can fall prey to the antics of the shadow, is the way that Metatron is putting it as I scratch my nose. So today I just want to make everyone aware that the Sun in Sagittarius, which is in a pretty close conjunction with the South Node, is squaring Neptune and Pisces. And so, those are days that we want to watch what it is that we're listening to and believing, because there's going to be a lot of, just distractions and probably some things that are like, out there. I've seen quite a bit of that today. So yeah, we're just anchoring into the truth and being a witness of the Creator's love and light by accepting it and through loving ourselves, is how Metatron is saying it. So, this video is about the eclipse that is coming in Sagittarius. It's a new moon eclipse, so time to plant a seed. And then a week later, we have the solstice and the grand conjunction, and those come every 20 years. The Saturn-Jupiter conjunctions happen every 20 years. This one is more special and getting more attention because of the way that they are parallel in their by declination, that they're so close that they appear to be one giant star, much like they did at the time of Christ. So they haven't come together in this way since 1226. And we'll go through how it played out then and what we can expect, and really how we are, this is affecting us personally, each of us, and collectively as well, since we're still here on the earth. And, you know, every 200 years, we begin a new cycle of Saturn and Jupiter. We're wrapping up now, or this will wrap up the conjunctions in Earth, which, except with the exception of 1980, they have been meeting in the Earth signs. So, you know, the practical, the mundane, putting into practice in the physical, our mastery. Now we're in air signs. And in 1980, they did meet up in Libra. There's usually like a precursor to when the new cycle is going to start. So if you are around in 1980, or you can remember back to that year, we did have them meeting in an air sign. So we can expect that some of that may be coming up right now. But really, individually, it's more that 20-year cycle that we're looking at. I just want to mention, and I always forget to say this at the beginning of the videos, that if you would like to book a session with me, you can do that through my website. There is not another way to book a session with me. I just don't have time to go through and do that for people individually by email. And I don't think my wait is much longer than other astrologers. I waited a long time for some of my early astrology chart readings with people, and I'm typically about a 2-month wait. Really, with the quarantine happening and my daughter being at home, I cannot devote any more time to one-on-one sessions. So I appreciate all of you who are waiting, and I know what that's like. I've been there, but everything is always perfectly timed. So you don't need to worry about, you know, having to get in right away. If you ever do want to do like an energy clearing for yourself, then I would encourage you to, if you look in the description box, that's how you can find information to book a session. And also the Emerald Fire meetings, which I have under World Meditation Healings, I think is what it says in the description box. Those are free and they're on Vimeo. And if you just listen to those meditations, we bring it the light all the way through all of the chakras before we go into healing the world. That will clean your space. So if you'd like to do that, like I said, they're free. They're just not on YouTube. They're on Vimeo. Okay. So, and anything else that you need to know about me, if you'd like to send an email or become part of the mailing list, that is also in the description box. You can find that information and how to do that. So, I wanted to this, by the way, somebody had asked me, this is actually wooden, the Metatron's cube. This is from Etsy. I bought this on Etsy, and then this plate that's behind it, I found at TJ Maxx, our local TJ Maxx. So I'm not sure where to send you for that. I know they all carry different things. So how's everybody doing? I feel like, with the exception of today, because the sun was squaring Neptune, I've had a lot more energy than I have like the past, 3-4 months or so. I know that a lot of you that I've talked to have been really exhausted this year. That's just what's part of what is happening with Neptune. And if you have anything around like 18 to 22, let's say 17 to 22 degrees in your chart, that will be affecting you. So those of us who do, it's been tiring. I think I look tired today, and I got so much sleep last night. I don't know why, but it's just that Neptune square influence that we're having today. And always when that is coming up, then it's a good day to go within, take time to meditate. Metatron is encouraging us to be really drinking a lot of water, blessing the water, allowing ourselves to be nurtured and nourished right now. He's talking about, being able to gain strength. Saturn is wrapping up his 3-year cycle. He went into Capricorn for the first time. It was December 19th, 2017. So look back over these 3 years and, think about the kinds of issues that were coming up for you personally and how you did with all of that. And, there's never anything outside of us judging us, but it's kind of good to take stock sometimes and to recognize, what we've learned and where what we've gained through lessons, being grateful for the lessons that we've learned. And then if you feel like you may need a little work here or there, maybe something you could have done better, really just having grace for yourself. Metatron has been speaking to me all day about the beauty of grace and what it means and feeling forgiven and trusting that we're a part of the Creator, that nothing can separate us. The Creator abides within us as we abide within the Creator. So let us take a look at what we have going on in the astrology. I know that there have been a lot of videos coming out about this Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that I feel like have been there's so much exaggeration. That South Node in Sagittarius. So much, just wild claims and so I want to kind of help to suss out some of that. And so I want to take a look at this chart. Obviously, I don't know the time from 1226 of when they exactly came together, but I did run a chart for what happened on that day. So if you look up there right at the beginning of Aquarius, you can see the guy that looks like the letter H is Saturn. The key, it looks like a K with a little circle key. That's Chiron. Venus was right in there. The moon was right in there. And so was Jupiter. So yes, it was Saturn, Jupiter, but there were other energies involved in that. So I feel like that's a bigger deal. You'll notice too that Uranus, who rules Aquarius, so who they're answering to, the planet Uranus there, is in Scorpio. And he's flush the asteroid Heimdall, which means the guard of the bridge between heaven and earth. And Metatron asked me to use that in charts as a representation of his energy, kind of the overseer archetype. So when you look at Uranus there, it's retrograde. Uranus in Scorpio is exalted. That's his favorite place to be. I mean, he likes it better there than he does in Aquarius, okay? And so that's where you're going to see the highest manifestation of the Uranian energy. In 1226, we were in the middle of we were like between the 5th crusade and the 6th crusade, when Saturn then moved through Aquarius and got to about the midpoint of Pisces. So it was about 5 years later that Saturn made it there. That's when the Spanish Inquisition began. But really, until Uranus made a whole nother revolution around the zodiac, about 84 years, that's when the Renaissance started. So he's retrograde here, and he went all the way around 84 years. Later, we started the Renaissance. We were done with the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition, and we came into a time of, enlightenment. And that took a whole cycle of Uranus. Once again, as this Saturn-Jupiter conjunction occurs, Uranus is retrograde. This time, though, he is in Taurus. And that is his least favorite place to be. Taurus likes to take her time and soak in all of the beauty. And, I always say it's like the cow chewing her cud. She's kind of savoring and taking her time. We don't think of cows as like, go out there and get them, kind of animals. But when Uranus is in Taurus, he can't break free. He wants freedom and he wants to act quickly. He wants revolution. and he wants to tear down the status quo wherever he is. That's his job. But in Taurus, it can be that we need to slog through the mud for a little while before we come there, we get there. And I've mentioned before that the last time that Uranus was in Taurus, that's when Mussolini and Hitler came to power. Doesn't necessarily, there was other things happening in the astrology that's unlike today. But, you know, just so you know, it does tend to be fascism is something that is revered, and the story of being separate, fear of moving forward, making progress. And, you know, South Node and Sagittarius, people aren't so happy to connect with immigrants or people coming from other countries. And so we're still in that energy. But, you know, like I said, this has a lot more planets were in play at the time that they came together. Sedna is pretty big. She's pretty significant. And she can relate to loneliness, sorrow, and just an ugly patriarchal energy. She was a female Inuit. You can check that legend. You could just Google Sedna, Sedna, an Inuit girl who was taken advantage of by the patriarchy pretty severely. So, you know, she's not at play in this one, but that was what was happening in 1226. And like I said, there were a lot more energies involved then than there are going to be today. Now, I think it's very significant that it's happening at the solstice. So the solstice is the celebration of the light returning to Earth, right? So that's good. You know, that I think I prefer that to, let's say, you know, my birthday, the Day of the Dead. Like, it's better that it's coming back at the winter solstice than when we're in the path of fire. So that's one thing that's helpful. Metatron asked me to use Pallas Athena today to have her on the altar, because Pallas Athena has already started into Aquarius. She's already made her way in. So she's sort of laying the groundwork, setting the stage for Saturn and Jupiter coming in. You know, she's about strategy, wisdom, you know, our own innate wisdom. And when we talk about, okay, sorry about that. I know you guys don't notice it, right? But we're going to talk about this, actually, the issues with my Mac. I've been waiting for this video to tell you guys that story. So Pallas Athena, she led the Greek army and the Greek people. We all have one in our charts. If you don't know your chart, I would really encourage you to go on astro.com and make a chart for yourself and check out where those different placements are. It's fun, and it helps you to learn a lot about yourself. It really does. It's kind of like light dawning in the darkness. It's just another tool, you know, a resource that we have to gain knowledge about ourselves. So Pallas Athena leading the charge into Aquarius. Of course, Aquarius is the sign of humanity and humanitarianism. It's about youth, what's next, the cosmic, our own higher self, our highest intuition, our highest expression of what is best for all that is, the part of us that understands what is best for us. And also, you know, Uranus brings about like a little storm, well, or a big storm, depending on how it's affecting your planets. But when you have a Uranus transit, you know, something significant in your chart is being affected by the planet Uranus, your life changes. I mean, it can't not. It's revolutionary, and it brings revelations and awakening. And so it's exciting that this is beginning, that this change is beginning, and that we have this new 200-year cycle of seeing above the illusion and not getting caught up. But I'm just, you know, so when I say like we may have to slog through the mud, there's just a lot of indications aside from Uranus and Taurus that talk about, you know, having to put in the work, you know, having to really release the past and let go. of what it is that no longer serves us in order to be able to move forward in a new way. And he's saying in a new invigorating way. And that he is saying that we could be going through a period that tests our resilience. I think that we've had that this year, and all of us in some way. Our resiliency has been tested. The collective dark night of the soul. What he mentioned to me a year ago about 2020, but he spelled night Knight, that little Mars that you have in there. The manifestation of the fire within you that causes you to charge in and to keep moving forward, that keeps you going, feeding that fire within. And Jupiter, the sign of Sagittarius, is the culmination of the fire signs. The fire begins with Aries, then Leo. So Aries, we come through the birth canal, and that fire that drives us forward, the individuality, pursuit of freedom. Then we come to the sign of Leo, which is when we allow ourselves to shine, to do whatever it is that we choose to do. And then Sagittarius is when we use the knowledge that we've gained to teach or to demonstrate that for others. We bring something public, it's something of like having a pulpit, speaking the truth, speaking your truth, being comfortable in the freedom that you have. He is saying to be your own judge, but in a way that's without judgment, just to be in loving acceptance of the self, and to recognize that the highest self, the highest aspect of you, loves you purely and unconditionally. And with Saturn too. Saturn is Capricorn is the culmination of the earth signs. Taurus, how we love and value and cherish ourselves. And then we move into Virgo and we put that into practice, right? Through our daily habits, showing our body, Taurus, love every day. What we do to feed ourselves, to nurture ourselves, to reap the reward of the harvest for what we do in gaining good health. The way that we treat the body in Taurus manifests in Virgo. And in our daily lives, being in that place of, the highest expression of the hermit isn't so much about sitting and meditating. It's being at peace in the moment of every day, being at that place of centered within, and being at peace and harmony, so that no matter what goes on around us, we have that respite within. And then we come to Capricorn, the master, where we demonstrate our mastery. We leave a legacy on the planet. It's also the reason that he titled this Inheritance, is that Pluto you can't leave out, because Pluto has to do with inheritance as well. He's in Capricorn, answering to Saturn. And Saturn, as he goes through this next few years, is laying the groundwork for Pluto, then moving in after he leaves. Pluto comes into Aquarius. And inheritance, it's like the culmination of what you've gained through the work of the ancestors and your divine birthrights, being sovereign. Saturn, your sovereignty, your divine birthright of sovereignty, and being grounded and centered within, not allowing other things to filter into our vibration, not having like ties of desperation or fear that cause us to lose confidence or put someone else in charge over us. Saturn, that the higher self, being the teacher, who's instructing us, and really recognizing that when we get instruction and advice from that aspect of ourselves, that it isn't a criticism, that it's just to help us along our path to do what it is that we came to do. Astrology is ancient knowledge that is innate within each one of us. We all have those gifts innate within all of us. It's astrology, crystals, all of that good stuff, blessings, recognizing that we're worthy and deserving of receiving these blessings, being able to stand with confidence in our own truth, and then how that plays out collectively. You know, how, like, if enough of us recognize that the power of the light of the Christ consciousness within us is the second coming, is the revolution, then the planet begins to change. We begin to the collective consciousness is raised, and that vibration and that frequency pours out into the earth as we ground and we bring the earth, the vibration of the earth. We're like we're communing with the earth in that way in order to raise the vibration, to make it higher, to help people to gain their own higher knowledge and understanding through simply understanding ourselves. You know, individually that happens, and then it comes collectively. And so, yeah, it's going to be this next 200 years when we're back again. It's going to be an exciting time. And I think that, you know, we've already seen like different scientific breakthroughs. It's interesting to me that the most powerful, I forget what they called it, the observatory in Puerto Rico, and I know some of you are watching from Puerto Rico. You could maybe put that in the comments. That was able to trace radio signals. It's interesting that fell during eclipse season. We lost that. So what that tells me is that most likely that will be replaced with something even more powerful. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's, you know, full moons, things go. And then, you know, we have the new always. So that could be some kind of breakthrough that maybe if that had still been there, this new way of doing it wouldn't have been able to be initiated. And that's part of the Uranus story. You know, he comes in like that tornado and he clears out whatever we don't need anymore, so that the new, the innovation, the innovative, the ingenuity, that all of that can be opened up for us. You know, when Uranus came into my rising sign, I had just a, you know, blow you away awakening. There were other things happening in my chart, but it's always significant when you have a Uranus transit. It changes your life, and so this will change a lot of things of humanity. We're gonna like really be finished, I think, in this next cycle with the patriarchy, glorifying the patriarchy. Metatron pointed out to me that oh, and I wish I would have written. Hang on, I'm gonna have to look it up, you guys, because otherwise I am just gonna butcher her name. But I think it's Hatshepsut, but that's probably way too easy. Hatshepsut. Okay. That she was a female king in ancient Egypt. If you would like to look up her asteroid in your chart, it's 2436. So Hatshepsut was a pharaoh, but she was a female pharaoh. She ruled through. She was like the regent for a male that was not related to her, and she ran the you know, Egypt for 20 years, and that was like unheard of at the time. They actually referred to her as a king, and she is quite significant in the chart that we have for the new moon solar eclipse happening in Sagittarius. You can see she's right in that mix at the end of Sag. You can see the sun and the moon and Mercury and Hatshepsut with the south node. And they're right at the gate of the gods. I mean, they're a few degrees from it, but that still pulls in that energy. It's pretty close to that. And that tells me that and this, by the way, that's the first house of the chart of the United States. So some kind of female ruler. Possible. It's possible. But I really feel like this is going to be a new era, a new dawn for the divine feminine. And that may not be a person who with female anatomy. It could just be somebody who rules from the heart. And in that place of ease and grace and softness and being empathetic. Because obviously men have the feminine and the masculine within them. So we may get, you know, just leaders who have a softer input and don't need to be blowhards. Don't need to be, because we've had a lot of female leaders, right? Like Margaret Thatcher comes to mind. I just watched The Crown. So, she wasn't, and I think she's a beautiful person. So, not insulting her in any way, but I'm saying that the masculine way of leading and taking charge that's maybe domineering or blowhard kind of thing, we may be seeing a new revolutionary way of leading that is a more feminine. So she is it, and then so this is the eclipse chart. You can see that she's right there, and that is in a trine with Mars, and it's actually more of a trine with Eris, but Mars and Eris are so close together. We're going to look at those as like cooperating. Okay, and Eris is the aspect of the archetype of the feminine who doesn't care what it takes to bring change. Change is going to come. Might be ugly, but it might be ugly process, but it is going to come. And, a new way of expressing our freedoms. Also in this chart, I was going to speak to it's the South Node, the nodes of fate, I mentioned this in another video, are in what's called a square to Neptune. And so that's still where we're a little foggy with the future. And I think that we're kind of all collectively in that space. I know for Australia, you guys really, because you paid your dues already with your restrictions. So now you guys can let me know in the comments. I know a lot of you are watching from there. What exactly is happening, because the images that I've seen, you guys don't even need masks anymore, so that's fantastic. I think I saw that only 47 people are COVID positive right now, which is great. And also you guys are having a really terrible heat wave, so if you guys just in your individual meditation practices want to send some blue light, blue energy, cooling down that continent, that would be great. But I really think that as Neptune enters this last decan of Pisces, that the ice is going to melt a lot faster. I mean, it's already happening. We know that, and there are more and more pictures coming out. I just saw some today of the melt, and I think that because of November, that actually pushed us to like the second warmest since I think now we might be the most warm since 1900, but I mean, I know I'm not exactly sure of the stats, and I didn't write that down, but the oceans are going to become, just as Neptune moves through that last decan of Pisces, what I've been shown is that it's going to be an issue. The water is going to be an issue. So that's part of still what is going on now. But when Neptune is squaring the nodes of fate, especially with the North Node in Gemini, we're still a little fuzzy. We're still a little like, oh, I don't know. And things are being worked out. They've shown me that decisions are being made, choices are being made. And one of the things that Metatron wanted me to talk about is that now, as Saturn enters his traditional rulership of Aquarius, we are being asked to make choices. We're at a crossroads, each of us individually, and we're at a crossroads for humanity. I mean, I've just sort of made the conscious decision to let go of all of that cult stuff and addressing it anymore. I'm not going to give any of my energy or time to it. If people are still confused about the reptilian energy, we each carry the angelic or the reptilian. And if people need to make up scary stories about a guy named Satan and where we were 2,000 years ago, that's fine. I can, that's them. And it's nothing to do with me. And I would encourage you to just keep yourself at a distance. I need to just let you know that when I talk to someone, they don't have to tell me that they've been listening to those things. I can see it in their space, because that big, scary fear devil guy, sorry, is in their space. because they've been giving allowance to it, he's saying, becoming part of distortion and fear. And so I would just encourage you to release any of that if you've taken it in to your space. Always, Michael is happy to do that. Metatron, Michael, the aspect of you that loves you purely and unconditionally, you're allowed to go straight to the creator and ask her to do it for you, and just letting that go. He is talking about the veil, and that there are reasons at times that the curtains are drawn, and that a lot of times our perception of the future isn't always accurate when these kind of energies are playing out. Okay. So yeah, really coming to a place of recognizing that you are the glory of God incarnated in a human body. You're always getting an A. You are just the universe having a human experience, and anything else is religious tradition and man-made stories of a standard to bear. I saw also recently that they discovered that even back at the time that the Bible was, like before it got to King James Council, back in the beginning, long time ago, that it was actually the elites in society that were, he's saying, transcribing and editing back then. So it's always been affected by man. And I want to just mention that the eclipse takes place on the 14th of December, and it is 1616 universal time. So 77, of course, that's a 5 in numerology, and that's the year that we're moving into. And 5s are, where we're shifting, and it can be a little bit uncomfortable. We may need to adjust, and really being flexible right now is so important, especially because that is a fixed sign. So we want to make sure that we're being flexible and easy peasy, easy breezy, letting things go. If it's time for something to slip away, just letting it go with grace is what he's saying. I wanted to let you guys know that Mercury will be traveling out of bounds, so out of the path of the sun, from 12/12 until the 5th of January. That can feel like a Mercury retrograde. There could be technology acting up, things like that. And that's about the time that Mars then enters Taurus too. So that's happening at the same time. Also, when we come into the energy, the solstice energy and the grand conjunction, that Chiron is stationary direct at that time. So, and he's about 5, he's 4 something in Aries when he goes direct. So that's pretty clean. That's a sextile that could bring up a bit of sorrow, maybe feelings of loss, but I feel like that's more gaining inner strength. That's what I feel like, that just when I look at that energy. And the last time that Saturn was in Aquarius, of course, Jupiter is 12-year cycles. The last time that Saturn was in Aquarius was 1991 to 1993. So go and look back on your own life, what was happening with you then. And this year he was in Aquarius. He was just in the very beginning degrees of Aquarius from the end of March until the beginning of July. So, I mean, I know that was for us anyway. We were on lockdown pretty much then, or quarantine pretty much then. So, just think back to that period, because that should give you like a little sneak preview of what was happening. And I talked about, Uranus, or the Saturn, Jupiter conjunctions happening through air until 2159. So when we're back, they'll take a dip into Scorpio to set up the water. Then when we will shift into water, and that will start 2179. Just in case you want to make a note to keep that in the what is it? Yeah, the collective memory bank is what he's saying. So when I woke up this morning, I was hearing very clearly corporate espionage. I heard it so clearly. Like, I guess I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget to mention. So I'm going to just tell a story about myself. Always when I tell these stories, it's because I know when these things play out that it's because, I mean, a lot of times it is so that I can share it with you. So I had a really weird thing a couple months ago when I ordered my laptop. I always get refurbished Macs. That's just the way I've always done it. And so, I had increased because of doing videos. I had increased the RAM. I hope I'm saying that right. But I had done, I had added things to it. And so it was like ordered, and they told me, it'll be a few weeks before it ships. So just so happened that the charge went through, and I'd ordered it with my debit card, and it went through after midnight. And even though it's Apple, my bank flagged it as fraud because of the price. So so Apple, I think, sent me notification. Let's not go into the whole story. Long story short, the AI at the bank, even though they were manually going in and okaying the charge to go through, the AI would not let them. Apple couldn't do anything to stop the charges. So Apple was holding like almost $13,000 on my checking account. I couldn't take my money out of my checking account. I could not get access to my money. And it was because of the AI. So I just want to tell you that because I knew when that happened that was about what's going to play out. It could be, that happens when Pluto actually comes into Aquarius, because in sidereal astrology now, Pluto is entering Capricorn. But, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up, because it's almost like what I was seeing or what was being given to me was something of that technology may get a bit out of hand. I'm not putting fear out there. Please do not feel fear. You can always be protected from that. Then I was at the doctor. When I made the last video, I was actually starting an infection in my eye. And that's something that's been going on through the pandemic with me. Just a little virus. It's like taking turns in my eyes. Goes right, goes left, goes right, goes left. So I made an appointment, and it was the day after Thanksgiving. I had to go to immediate care. They were asking questions about my medical history that had nothing to do with an eye infection, because it was the first time I'd gone in there. And then, of course, ads started coming up on Facebook for things that I had talked about in that conversation with the doctor's office. But what really freaked me out was 3 days ago, I was thinking that I needed a new shell. What's it called, you guys? The sage shell. Alban, you know what I'm talking about, the seashell. Doesn't really matter. But I had not said that. I thought that. 12 hours later, the ad's coming through my Facebook feed. And so when we get to over the eclipse energy, or the solstice, we're going to do a healing meditation, and I had planned to do it today, but he asked me to hold off. We're going to do a healing and protection meditation, recognizing our sovereignty. And what he's been explaining is that a lot of the subconscious stories of sovereignty are not the highest truth, like the creator's version of what it means to be sovereign. Because, of course, man-made sovereignty isn't the same. Like kings and queens sitting on the throne, not quite the same protection as the creator's version of sovereignty. So we're going to go through and do healings for that on our technology. And he's talking about our monitoring systems. That's what he's calling it. So we are going to do that. I don't know if it'll be the next video, but coming up, we'll do that. And, really calling in protection for that and getting it out of your space. Because the way that they show it to me is that it's like I'll see the color blue, which is typically what I'm in, Mary's blue, and through it there'll be black like waves. It's just little disruptions. and so that's what it looks like. But I want to make sure, because I feel like there's so much fear in the ethers that if we aren't completely grounded into the body, we're picking a lot of that up and it's coming into our own vibrations. So I'm just going to go through what he wanted me to mention in the video before I end. Conscious and vigilant like recognition that you are co-creating your reality with every thought. This is going to be a time of instant manifestations. And so we really want to make sure that we're connecting to the part of us who loves us purely and unconditionally and co-creating a beautiful future, a peaceful future. Coming to a place of oneness and releasing the illusion of separation, or the tired Saturn story of the ancients where you better mind your P's and Q's. Nobody outside of you is doing that. That's all. We're leaving that in the past now. Hopeful inspiration for the future of mankind and harmonious cooperation within members of the soul family, not being tied together through obligations anymore, taking people off of pedestals. I learned that lesson. It was so painful. Someone who I had really admired, who I found out was just not trustworthy and not at all what they put themselves out there to be, really hurt me deeply. Please take everyone off of pedestals. And then practicing diplomacy and recognizing our sovereignty. I always can feel when something cuffs me on the back wing. I can feel it instantly. And I was talking to someone a few days ago. She has more Scorpio than I do, actually. And while we were doing the healing session, she felt that. So really just recognizing that the power of the light of the Christ consciousness within you releases anything that you do not want in your space. Practicing rituals. He was talking about the comfort and feelings that we get at home and at oneness. And again, coming to that vibration of peace within the self through practicing a daily ritual. If you can commit to a spiritual practice, even if it's looking at a candle, setting the timer on the phone, and just maybe a low hum for 3 minutes on your phone. That's a start. That's enough. And it helps. Anytime that you can take during the day to give your mind those few minutes without being reliant on substances, he just pointed out. And then again, we're at a crossroads, coming up with new strategies and moving forward, surrendering and releasing what has shown itself to be that it is no longer necessary in your life, is what he's saying. Just surrendering that. And that goes along a lot with addiction. That can be part of that story. I'm going to need to... My camera just keeps... And it's not this Mac. It just seems to be Macs now. Okay. I can't do it if I can't see myself. It's disconcerting. If I'm just staring at a black screen, I don't like that. So anyway, we'll do that healing meditation coming up. But really, be conscious. Remember, they've already convinced people that a person could send something out to the collective in a way is a violation of our sovereignty. They've convinced a huge group of people that. And so those people believing that will bring that to pass. I mean, I'm not, again, scaring anybody. If you feel fear, just let it go. Because I'm just letting you know that that's why it's important that we are consciously manifesting the opposite. It's like he was pointing out to me, now a lot of the smaller hospitals in the United States, I don't know if all of you are aware that they have decided who they're going to treat and who they're going to have to just send home with oxygen because they don't have enough room in the hospitals. And I remember years ago when the fear stories of death panels were going around in relation to what every other democracy in the world has: government, healthcare, which we call Medicare or Medicaid here, but it's only allowed for certain people. And so they came up with the, big pharma. Oh, okay. Thanks, Metatron. Big pharma, big ag, the people who don't want there to be government subsidized healthcare, who want us to keep feeding the military industrial complex. Those are the big scary bad guys of the cabal and the Illuminati. You just follow the money, and what stories like the big corporate media. It isn't so much that they lie to us, they just steer the conversation. So with all these recounts going on, what are they distracting us from? One of the stories, I think, is the $283 billion deal that we're making with the UAE for military, weapons. And then the UAE that week decided that they were going to be nice to Israel. It's right in front of our faces. It's not really in secret prisons or secret courts. It's right in front of us. They put out those stories about how there is no such thing as climate change. And climate change is a manifestation of the earth cleansing and man-made. Can't we just forget about what the cause is and address it now instead of arguing about it? But they keep us arguing about it. They keep us arguing about everything so that we don't pay attention to what's really going on, what's really happening right in front of our faces. They put out all of the propaganda. And yeah, the weather has been experimented with by the government, but that isn't what's causing the climate change. But they get that story out there and they convince this large block of people, and then they're looking for imaginary bad guys instead of, and I don't want to say even they're bad guys, but we need to make sure, and we're coming to a time when it could be that it's so obvious that money is going to ill and not serving what is best for all that is, that resources are being stolen. I think we're there. But I mean, I don't think that is, I think it could manifest even more dramatically, as the way that he's putting it, before it turns around. So, the only, like I've been saying for so long now, that really coming to a place of peace and reconciliation within the self, recognizing the power that lies within you, the power of the light within you, and putting that into practice in your own daily little, he's saying, hub, like you at home, with yourself, quarantined or not. You putting that love into practice on a daily ritual that you do for yourself will enrich your life and enrich the lives of those around you, is what he's saying. Because all of this other stuff is going to come to pass in a matter of, it takes time. It's like the end of corruption video, the fall of a superpower didn't mean that the country would end the day that our Pluto is conjunct where Pluto was when we, in 1776. That Pluto cycle is a 248, almost 250 year cycle. And, we lose our superpower status doesn't mean we aren't the here anymore. So, just really be cognizant. Like I said, 1226, huge things didn't happen that day. But when Uranus, and it doesn't necessarily even mean that it will play out that way, when Uranus made the next revolution 84 years later, the Renaissance began. What he showed me last night, because I asked him, as I was falling asleep, to show me some things overnight. What he showed me is because it's happening at the 0 point of Aquarius, which is the Fool energy. Anytime you have any planet or point that you have at 0 degrees in the chart, there is no limit to what you can accomplish with that planet. But it's really like a mystery, he's saying. A mystery waiting to be revealed. So yeah, and also it's funny, a few days ago we had a huge windstorm, and a silver mylar balloon in a 0 landed in my tree in the backyard, and every time I look out there's a big 0. The path of the Fool, not really knowing exactly what's coming, but stepping out in faith. He's saying, recognizing that you are supported in manifesting your dreams in making your heaven on earth, manifesting your heaven on earth, and living in that reality. And that begins when we come to a place of peace and harmony within the self. You know, like Ashtar always says, you are only love. You are each of you. Not only love. Yeah, you are pure love. Why, recognizing that we're pure love, why complicate the matter? You know, we don't need to add in anything to that. So, and the cosmic too, you know, I think that we probably will be having, and they've already, you know, acknowledged, I think it was like 3 months ago that they acknowledged that, you know, that we've had visits from outer space. So, yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add. Is there anything else that you would like to add? And then he's saying if you feel like you're in a place where you would like, you know, your energy to be cleared, he's saying that simply stating out loud, I allow my fear, my attachment to the illusion to go, to be reconciled through the creator's love and light. Because the shadow is always fear. It's not evil or scary. It's fear. That's what it is. The opposite of love is fear. Okay, everybody. I feel like I was in the middle of a point and I got sidetracked. But anyway, I don't remember what it was I was saying. So, all right, guys. I hope it won't be so long until we talk again. Thank you so much for all of your support. I'm sending all of you so much love and light. And hopeful new beginnings is what he's saying. Take care, everybody.